Now, the land we are standing on today is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse nations, including the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Now, we read these land acknowledgements, but of course, I just want to take a minute to remind everyone we are coming off a week when everyone marked a very important day to commemorate and honor and remember the people who were here before us and the work we still have to do. It's been 10 years since the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation released 6 actions of reconciliation. That means there is work to do. It's motion. It's not over. So may we all remain steadfast in our work towards progress and commit to making this work real and actionable at home, at work, now and in the future. Reconciliation must continue. At this time, we would like to also give thanks to our sponsors. These things don't happen unless somebody writes a check, gives support. I'm just keeping it real, writes a check, gives support, and says, yes, we want to see this work continue. So can we give a big shout out to TD Bank, our presenting sponsor? Shout out to TD. We also want to thank ETFO, the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, and FEEO. And now, I see Wendy's going into the room there. We should have a brief video, but I'm looking for Malcolm or Wendy because we should have a brief video from our sponsor. We want to keep the program moving smoothly, so I'm going to introduce one of the co-founders of 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women. She was born and raised in Grenada. She came to Canada in 1960, but what I think is fascinating and amazing is that she's changed our country forever. And that's not past, that's present, and it continues. She's still at work. She is 88 years young. Take a minute with that. 88 years young. She is the visionary behind the Jean Augustine Center for Young Women's Empowerment, serving up to 300 girls up to age 17. 4 pillars of focus, she told me tonight: STEM, financial literacy, non-traditional jobs, and self-empowerment. Dr. Augustine, of course, is the first Black woman elected to Parliament of Canada and to Cabinet. And she is not done. She has her eyes on a new prize. She's working on a community hub in Etobicoke Lakeshore for women and girls. Stay tuned for the fundraiser. Anybody in Etobicoke or in the west end of the city, Dr. Augustine will be coming for your support. She also wanted me to mention that she is very proud to have her name associated with the Jean Augustine Professorship in Transformative Education at Victoria University. This is historic work. So please join me in welcoming the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine.
Hey, bonjour. Hello, hello, hello. Wake up, wake up. It's Friday evening, and it is the time when we need to challenge ourselves and the time when we need to focus on the fact that we live in challenging times and that each one of us has a role to play. So let me continue to extend this warm welcome to each and every one of us who made it here this afternoon, who decided to sign up, who decided that the 100 accomplished Black women, Canadian Black women, and the programs that we do are supported. Deepest thanks, as you heard, and I think you'll see, the organizations that have empowered us to put this event on: the TD Bank, the EFTO, the FEEO, and I was doing something the other day and I'm reeling off all of this EFTOFEEO, and somebody say, what are those? But I'm sure this is an audience that would know this. Because you see, their support, their financial contributions has played a significant role in enabling us to deliver impactful educational events like this. So we want to thank them and to say thank you again and again, because I think it's important for us to recognize that we are in challenging times, and those organizations that would stand with us as we do the work need to be complimented. We are absolutely thrilled to welcome not only you, but those who are on the line, that virtual audience who are there for us tonight. Virtual does make sense, you know. I was going to a function in Toronto a few days ago, and it took me an hour to go from 1 or 6 blocks of the lakeshore. So when the opportunity comes to do virtual, I understand the people who are now sitting there and getting ready to be part of this virtually. So welcome. On behalf of Dr. Denise Green, Donna Jones Simmons, and all those who've worked to make tonight happen, to bring the culmination of the efforts of over 500 honorees. And you see right at the front of the podium here, you'll see the faces of those 500 honorees. And we have the posters at the front. So we hope each one of you will walk away with one of those posters for your offices and for your place, your other community places. We have, and again, they're very good at collecting the statistics of the women who are with us, the wide range of professions, 77 PhDs. Can you imagine that we were able to sort and to find on that list 77 PhDs? So you can see the education of women in our community. Educators, professionals, corporate leaders. And so tonight, we would have the opportunity to hear and to learn from their insights. So this evening is for you, it's for your esteem, and our esteemed panelists will share and would give us an opportunity to reflect on so many things in our community that all of us need to put our shoulders around. So the old African saying, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, and I know we want to go far, so this is why we're all here tonight. Thank you, Emily. You do such a wonderful job. And thank you, Donna. Thank you, my co-chairs, my Denise Green. And also, I think I can't leave Miss Waldron and Miss Pierre, who are always there. So thank you all, and let's have a really, really good time together.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Augustine. I appreciate all the work that you and your colleagues have done. And I really want us to appreciate to publish one book about Black women in Canada couldn't have been easy. But as we all know, to start something is one thing. To sustain it is another. So to do it time and time again, I just want to take a minute. Can we just applaud for that, the unity that it takes to keep the work going? All right. Now let's get to why we're here. We want to hear from some women who are working in the skills trades and have points of view that will help us advance this work. To lead us into our first panel discussion, I'd like to introduce Marie Clark Walker. She's a bridge builder in the labor movement, a dedicated mentor, and I love this word, femtor, right? Come on now. And a strong believer that social justice is essential to an equitable world. She was the first Black racialized woman to serve as both Secretary Treasurer and Executive Vice President of the Canadian Labour Congress, a history, her story maker. Thank you for that. And Marie continues to participate and work on issues that are important to workers and marginalized communities, including ILO Convention 190. I had to look it up. An international convention where she was the worker spokesperson on gender, anti-Black racism, workers, and human rights. As a member of the Federal Employment Equity Task Force, she was an instrumental member of the team recommending major changes that will make the world more equitable. She serves on many boards. She's a member of the 100 ABC Evaluation Selection Committee, and she helped to plan tonight. Please welcome Marie Clark Walker.
Thank you, Emily. The room looks good. Cheer for yourselves. The room looks good. Oh, please, please, please. You can do better than that. The room looks good. I want to take the opportunity tonight to welcome our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is Yasmin Fatto, AVP Enterprise Real Estate, Toronto Dominion. I'm going to try and not use acronyms so that we understand exactly what we're talking about. So Yasmin leads Toronto Dominion's global design and experience strategy, transforming physical spaces across the bank's real estate portfolio into hubs of performance, presence, and belonging. A visionary strategist and passionate advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, she puts equity and inclusion at the heart of every decision. Beyond Toronto Dominion, Yasmin chairs Jen Eyre's Disrupting Design Advisory Board, creating pathways for Black, Indigenous, and racialized talent in design. Recently recognized as one of Canada's top 100 most powerful women by WXN, Women Executive Network. She's redefining what it means to lead with impact where design meets purpose. Yasmin, the floor is yours. Let's give her a huge hand.
I always, hello, there we go. I always joke that I'm most powerful women, but I still can't get my kids to fold their laundry, apparently. So, good evening. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Marie. It is a pleasure to be here today at the Black Women in the Skilled Trades event on behalf of TD. I want to first start by thanking the event organizers and the team at 100 Accomplished Black Women for bringing us together to celebrate and amplify Black women's voices, our stories, and our achievements across every field of excellence. And I particularly want to thank the co-founders of this wonderful organization for bringing us together today. The Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, it is such an honor to be in your presence. Donna Jones Simmons and Dr. Denise O'Neill Green. So as I said, as you mentioned, I head up real estate design and experience at TD. And simply put, what that means is we design the experiences wherever you are a customer or a colleague. Our team is in charge of designing those experiences. So if you have any complaints, suggestions for our branches or our corporate spaces, let me know. We have about 22 million square feet of real estate across the globe, which encompasses our corporate, our call center, client-facing, and retail premises. So all that to say that I'm no stranger to construction and the skilled trades, and I've been very honored to be here with you tonight. I started my career, as my niece reminded me, getting old now, 22 years ago. Which was the first time I stepped foot on a construction site. And needless to say, I was the only woman on site. definitely on the consulting team, also the only woman amongst the entire construction team. And I think someone asked me, they make those hats in pink, and I said, well, I don't like pink. So looking across this room, and actually we actually did buy the book when we came in. I think it's pretty evident that things have evolved in the right direction. Black women are the backbone, undeniably, of building our cities, building our communities, and designing them as well. And events like this are a really powerful way for us to remember that and sit and be present in that moment, and to showcase the incredible talent amongst our community, and strengthen our connection to one another as well. So at TD, I'm not sure if you are aware of the TD Ready commitment, but I'll give you, I'll tell you what the video probably would have told you. We're very invested in supporting change and investing in local communities, and it is very central to who we are. It's part of our identity. And the TD Ready commitment is essentially our corporate citizenship platform. And so we sponsor lots of events like tonight's event, and we're very particular about what we choose to sponsor and make sure that it aligns with our values. And we also like to work alongside organizations like 100 ABC Women to help to make a positive impact within our community. And essentially, we stand with you. And we have sponsored many events and initiatives like this for many years. And the focus is to elevate Black voices and to foster a sense of community and celebration. And we do this throughout the year. So I would just give a quick plug to the TD Ready commitment. And you'll see many organizations like this one, where we help to build inclusive spaces and elevate diverse voices and create programs and initiatives and opportunities for underserved communities and groups where they're needed the most. We also, within the bank, have TD Pathways to Economic Inclusion. And the intention is to improve access to employment training, development and experience, financial services, education, acumen, advice, and affordable housing. So today's event is more than just a celebration. So whether you are on the line or you're in the room, it's about recognizing the stories that help to shape our community, and the voices that push us forward, and the talent that inspires us all. So we really, on behalf of TD, are very proud to be here. And personally, I'm very proud to be here, and want to thank you again for including us and making this possible and shining a light on the richness and diversity of Black women in the community. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening, and I hope to catch up with some of you later on. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. Let's give her a bigger hand, please. It's very clear that as Black women, we're in many spaces, and I hope that you will continue, our relationship will continue to grow and flourish. I'd like to introduce the first panel. We have a panel of trailblazers and trendsetters. Natasha Ferguson built Ethel Fox Construct Group, and I'm going to ask them to make their way up to the front as I'm introducing them. Natasha built Ethel Fox Construct Group from the ground up. It's a full-service construction and development company known for its distinctive design and high-quality, thoughtful builds. It is also one of the few women-owned and operated construction firms in Canada, a point of pride that reflects Natasha's commitment to changing the face of the industry. Before stepping into construction full-time, she spent 15 years in marketing and advertising, leading creative and technical projects for some of Canada's most recognized brands. That experience now shapes the way she approaches every build, blending sharp project management with an eye for design that makes each project stand out. Welcome, Natasha. Next, we have Stephanie McLean. Stephanie is a Red Seal 309A licensed journey person electrician with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. We're trying to change it to the International Brotherhood and Sisterhood, but you know, they ain't pulling that. She's with IBW Local 804. specializing in high-rise construction and maintenance. As a dedicated trades professional, Stephanie has expanded her role beyond the job site into education and mentorship. She collaborates with organizations such as the Toronto Community Benefits Network, TCBN, Neighborhood Developing Careers, NDC, and as an instructor at the Skills Trades College of Canada to provide hands-on training, career guidance, and insight into navigating the electrical apprenticeship pathway. Stephanie is deeply committed to creating accessible pathways into the skilled trades, especially for women and youth. Through her work, she advocates for equity in the trades and strives to ensure that future generations have the support, knowledge, and opportunities they need to succeed in the electrical industry. Welcome, Stephanie. We also have with us tonight Camille Mitchell. Camille is a licensed architect based in Toronto and a founder and former chair of the Black Architects and Interior Designers Association, and sessional lecturer at Toronto Metropolitan University's Creative School of Interior Design. She has worked with leading firms including KPMG Architects, GenCA, and SVN Architects and Planners. Camille also serves on the Dean's Advisory Council for TMU's Faculty of Engineering and Architectural Science and the Advisory Board for the University of Waterloo School of Architecture, Racial Equity and Environmental Justice Program. Her work exemplifies a commitment to equity, representation, and creating meaningful opportunities within the built environment. Welcome, Camille. I'm looking over to Malcolm because we have a member of the panel who's also online. While they're getting that set up, let me introduce Elizabeth Moses. Elizabeth first discovered the skills trades in high school, building and competing with robots in the first robotic competition for 3 years. That early passion took her to St. Clair College, where she graduated from the General Machinist program. And from there, she's been making history. She's a 2-time winner of the Women's Executive Network, Canada's Most Powerful Women, Top 100 Awards, the youngest tradeswoman in Canada to receive that honor. And most recently, she's been recognized amongst the 100 accomplished Black Canadian women. Today, Elizabeth is working as a machinist in British Columbia. So let her hear your warm welcome for her all the way in BC. So welcome, sisters, and we have limited time with lots of questions, so let's get right into it. I believe the microphones are on. So we're going to start with Natasha. Natasha. We know that the trades are not a female-dominated industry. So what inspired you to pursue a career in construction, and can you share some of your journey as a Black woman?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. We know that the trades are not a female-dominated industry, so what inspired you to pursue a career in construction, and can you share some of your journey as a Black woman?
So I was exposed to the industry at a very young age, but I never really followed up on it. But I always had a knack for building and fixing things. And then it was a career change for me. I had been in an industry where there was a lot of tokenism. And so I kind of had burnout. And from that, I had met my husband at the time, and he was a tradesperson, and the trade that he had was a trade that I thought, I'm an entrepreneur, so I was looking at it and I'm thinking, it was roofing, and I said, wow, that's a really good business, because like, name one building or house that doesn't have a roof. So I started my first roofing company, and then I never looked back. And I think I didn't really notice the gender inequality until I started becoming successful in the business, and then I realized there weren't a lot of women in the business. I would like try to hire, and I couldn't find any women. So that's kind of, I like a good challenge. So that's where it all started for me. And I think my experience in this industry has actually been a really positive one, because, you know, and that probably seems strange, but I get to affect so many people by my journey, even though the journey's hard at times. It really allows me to see how I can bring other women to where I've been able to go, which is I'm blessed for that. So, thank you.
And as Natasha says, there are not very many women in that industry, and even fewer that look like us, right? Elizabeth, what made you choose the trades, and what is the most challenging aspect? Okay, so while you're setting that up, Malcolm, we'll go to Camille. Why architecture? And
Hello.
what has helped you to navigate this male-dominated industry?
I would say I started in architecture based on my father. He came to Canada in the 70s from Trinidad as a skilled draftsman. So I literally grew up with a drafting board in the house. And so through that, and architecture is an opportunity to explore your creative side and your like math and science and everything at the same time. What has helped me in this industry is building a network from really early. In the 11th grade, I had a co-op placement as an 11th grade student at an architecture firm, and they were the ones that introduced me to University of Waterloo. And I add this because, yes, I think to navigate a male-dominated industry, you have to acknowledge it. You have to be mindful that you are entering a male-dominated profession. They're making headway in the profession, but the architecture school, graduate students are still 54% female, but licensed architects in Canada are 29% female. So I grew accustomed to a male-dominated profession, but what shocked me was when I started grad school was a lack of diversity. And I say this funny, I say this because in 2007, I saw the stat that 0.2% of licensed architects in the United States are Black women. So if we're going to round up or round down, 0.2 is still zero. And I think that shocked me because I would have assumed architecture, because architecture surrounds us, it's all around us, was equivalent to the population. Since then, in the States, it's probably grown to 0.5% of female percent. So we do not know the stat in Canada because as Canadians, we don't track data. And if we don't track data, that's a sign that there's no problem. So no data, no problem. Here, so to go back to navigating a male-dominated profession, it's just building your network, because those networks have helped me land jobs, work in remarkable firms, and to navigate the business. But what I didn't do in my bio is like shout out some projects I've worked on. So I've been honored to like work on buildings that literally shape the skyline. Here in Toronto, working on CIBC Square on Bay Street, working in the space of CIBC, but the branch. Throughout the pandemic, I was in that, working on the branch, releasing that. I was on the project north of Chicago in Evanston for the new Kellogg School of Management, from design competition all the way through construction. So if that project was between 2011 and 2017, even me showing up on site, people didn't know who I was, right? Because I literally, at that point, asked the firm to get hard hats that said the firm. Because of my age, people were stopping me because I was a student or trespassing. But when I was like, I'm an architect here, that was received, shockingly, but eventually received. So yes, so I think what helps you navigate is building a network and having a group of moderators, and also like developing a good network of women that you can talk to, that you can reach out to, that you can express what you've gone through.
And I'm sure that Natasha, you've experienced some of that as well when people call to get, services and they realize they're talking to a woman and you are the actual owner of the company.
Yeah, it's actually happened on a couple of sites. Like if one particular site, yeah, okay, one particular site. I'm a hardscape technician. It's one of my trades. So I had done this like really big project, and it was beautiful. I was really impressed with it. But people would pass by, and a couple of guys passed by, and they said, can you call your boss? We want you, we want you guys to do our work. And I said, well, you're looking at her. And he's like, what do you mean? Literally, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't, I am the boss. So yeah, it happens, but I find it intriguing because that's how I know that I'm doing something special, and that, it affects people in that way. And then that means somebody else, another woman's going to see that and know that they can do that. Mhm.
It happens in so many spaces. We don't have enough time to talk about because I'm sure that every single one of us in here have experienced that. So, Stephanie, why did you choose the trades and why specifically an electrician? And how do you break down the systemic barriers that you've heard your sisters talk about that happen to you on a daily basis?
I'll use yours. Hello? Okay. Great. So why I chose an electrician? Well, straight out of high school, I majored in English because as my guidance counselor directed me, they're like, you know what, math isn't your strong suit. You said you don't like it. Maybe we should push you more into the English side. Your writing is strong, your speaking is strong, your reading is strong. So do what you're strong in so that, you could successfully continue to graduate high school. So I said, all right, still not really realizing what was being said in that moment, but and what ended up happening full circle. But I ended up graduating with honors based off all my English graded marks, and I went into public relations. Loved public relations, but it was a dead end. I was doing internship after internship every summer. I still had the debt that I had to pay off from that program. And I'm just like, what next? My mom's just like, oh, maybe you should go to university to get your bachelor's of communications. And I'm like, Mom, that's not it. That's another 10K for a semester. I'm already in debt. We need to figure this out. So I was working at the keg at the time, and one of my friends mentioned to me, she's like, what about the trades? I'm in the trades. Currently I'm in George Brown. I'm taking a renovation course and I love it. And I said, you love it. We're dressed like, we're in dresses, our hair is all pretty. Like I look like this every day. So she was just like, yeah, of course you would like it. So I said, okay, give me some trades. So I looked it up. She said HVAC, electrical, or plumbing. So I did my research. And of course, I wanted to research this because I said, if I'm doing a career switch, I need to be sure that I'm not going to switch again. So with that said, I looked and I did all the research, and with all the variety of options that I could segue from once I had my electrical license, a 309A license, that alone just sparked my interest, no pun intended. And it sparked my interest because I'm just like, you know what? I am an individual that likes to do many different things. I tend to get bored once I've already reached a plateau where I've learned and I feel successful, I'm comfortable there. So I always start to say, well, what next? And now, once I got the license, I'm in the position to say, you know what? There's so much room to go here, go there. I could teach, I could mentor, I could do events, I could own my own business, get a master's, and continue to climb the plateau of, where I've already come from and stemmed from as just simple thought of becoming an electrician. What I currently do to keep the doors open for young ladies and youth behind me is, again, I mentor a lot with TCBN. I do, currently I'm instructing as an electrical instructor at the Skilled Trades College of Canada. And with that, I always tell my students how they can navigate the electrical apprenticeship, things that I didn't have anybody to tell me. I'm literally telling them as someone who not too long ago went through the process, as I started in 2014. So it's still very relevant experience and very relevant advice that I give them, relevant and current. And also because I'm still in the field, I'm giving them that firsthand industry experience as to what you can face while going out there to look for your apprenticeships and while you're on jobs and things like that. And to speak on the subject of what I'm doing every day to address the systemic barriers is, especially as a woman, and one of the things Natasha had mentioned is I didn't really know. I knew I was a girl, obviously. I knew I was a girl all this time, but I never really took it as you're a girl in a male-dominated industry until I was always the only girl in the male-dominated industry. I was always the only Black girl. I was always the only Black person at times. So I would then start to look around the room and be like, okay, well, what am I going to do about this? Because I would love to see my brothers and sisters along with me, along with all the different types of the different races and genders of people, youth in the room with me as well, holding this position, because it's not only for one type of individual. So again, I do those mentorings. I make sure that I'm present. I make sure that I constantly share my story so that others know that it is possible for them and that it is a possibility and an achievement that's reachable for those who just think that they want to do something different. Just thinking outside the box, it's achievable to do what you need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are we able to hear from Elizabeth? Yes? So let me repeat the question for Elizabeth. What made you choose the trades, and what is the most challenging aspect for you in the trade that you have chosen?
The reason why I chose the trades was because I had a high school teacher who was a trade person, and he wanted me to explore these opportunities. So for me personally, the trade has been an awesome route, and I love it so much. I've been in the trades now for 9 years, so I've done 2 trades so far. I've done construction and sheet metal, and also machining. And I think what's the hardest challenge about being a tradeswoman is the sense of belonging. I think I've always constantly have to prove my worth. You know, coming in there as, especially even as a young person, I don't always get the respect that I deserve. And I have to constantly try to prove my abilities and try to find people who can actually believe in me and can push me forward into the direction I need to go so I can excel in my career. So that is always a challenge I find. But so far, I believe I have faith in the universe. I have very strong faith, and I wouldn't have made it this far if there weren't people who didn't believe in me, you know, like who believed in me and also could see that I want to excel too as well. So just like they have. And I'm very grateful to have allies too that have supported this pathway for myself. So I'm so grateful for everyone who has. Also wanted to say thank you so much for everybody who came today too as well. And I am so happy to see this amazing panel of women in the trades and who are just doing extraordinary things.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to come right back to you and ask you, how can industry leaders, unions, and governments at all levels support Black women in the trades, particularly as it pertains to retention, advancement, and leadership? And that question is coming to all the panelists, but we'll start with Elizabeth.
You're saying how can government and, for instance, funding. The trades are, it's a very challenging, it can be very challenging to be a tradeswoman. For instance, the trades, you need clothing and tooling to start out. I live, when I was in Ontario, I want to just tell you that I grew up in poverty. So life wasn't always easy, you know. And for instances, I was very fortunate because I went through a program, which is a pre-apprenticeship, which was free. So I was just lucky to be able to start out in a pre-apprenticeship where my tools were paid for, my boots were paid for, my tuition was taken care of. So the things that I would have struggled with financially were taken care of. And this was a government funded program. So pre-apprenticeships usually are, or pre-employment programs. And that is something that we need these programs. They're so necessary. So that is something that the government is doing currently right now to support tradeswomen. And also schools are giving out scholarships. So that's also another thing that can help for those who don't have access to a pre-apprenticeship program or can't get into one. Scholarships and grants really help for individuals to continue pursuing their path and actually eliminating some of the barriers they have. So that is something that schools are doing, governments are doing, and then again, allyship. It's a number one important thing in this industry. You need allies to survive. So again, when it comes to organizations, I used to work in a union. I did sheet metal for a while. I was fortunate to be in a union, and there you have more rights when it comes to pay, equal pay, support as in sense of protection for your job. So no one can just fire you for no reason. No one can remove you from your position without actually having reason. So those are things that we do need. And those are important, especially companies too as well that support women and their advancements. So we need those for retention and how to help women stay in the trades, continue to progress in the trades, to help them thrive as individuals. Those are very important things that we need. So thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm going to go to the other panelists as well to ask them to jump in on that same question. But before I go there, I want to just let people know that the construction industry has been dominated by other ethnic groups, right? And so I know that there has been a push to have Black workers, but specifically women, get into the trades. And unions have not always been there to support. But as Elizabeth said, they are still one of the best ways to actually get to where they need to get. And you would think that the number of years that we've been pushing this, we would be much further. I was speaking to one of the staff members at the Carpenters last week, and he was telling me that the city of Toronto has 2 Black apprentices. 2. Take that in. 2025, 2. And we have organizations, the Black construction workers, the Black builders. We have organizations that are pushing and promoting us, and still we have 2. So any one of you can jump in and talk about how industry leaders, unions, and governments can actually help to support particularly Black women in the trades and Black businesses.
So this question is a really interesting question. And so when we talk about where the barriers really exist, it's in places like union, and it's very deep, and also employers. So I agree with the last panelist. There's definitely programs, but I also think that there needs to be education for the employers. There are many corporations that I know very well, some of you know as well, big, that have these sections of their companies, and they're really trying to push to make sure that procurement is inclusive for everybody. And it's actually interesting that if you look at a really, really huge company, and they should have a bunch of control over what happens internally and how fast things move, but it's actually an issue getting the ball rolling on being able to service people and open the doors for people in a proper way. And so this is because they really don't know how to do it. They're not there yet. And they don't actually understand what the cusp of the problem is. Like, we can mentor people, we can do a bunch of things, but we need to realize that it has to end with getting jobs. That's one of the main things. I mean, if people are not working, then what happens, right? So when you have opportunities as a minority contractor like myself, and a lot of you will know there's not a lot of us out there, if you look at the bigger contracts, we don't get those bigger contracts because I won't blame, the industry. That's a part of it, of course, but it also reflects on how educated our contractors are. And by that, I don't mean the simple math of things, but I mean, the financial literacy piece, the business readiness piece. Really, how do you get a city contract? Most of you don't know this. You need to have a signatory with the union. So that's very difficult to achieve, and I know this because I'm the only Black woman with a signatory with the Local 27. So if I don't have that, I can't work on the bigger projects.
Local 27 is the carpenters.
Yeah, sorry. So there's a lot to unpack, and I think we need to start by really educating our community on how to run a business like this. I think organizations that really look to do that and actually do it, those organizations need to be funded properly. And we need to start having more transparent conversations about what is really going on behind closed doors.
Thanks, Natasha.
Thank
Stephanie
you.
or Camille?
I would say, first of all, the majority of architecture professions are the private sector, so we're not protected by unions. But for the government, it would start at education, and education is high school. It's to prepare you for the university requirements, and it's not just preparing the students like to enter the profession just by even having them practice like public speaking or engagement. It's also preparing the reviewers. So are we, because sitting on review panels with the University of Waterloo or TMU, which students or who are these students that are often being enrolled in the program? What are you subjecting these students to? What are you comparing them to? Or is it their connections, what they showed in their portfolio, what they had access to at their high school? So I think it's even preparing the reviewers to be like, to get down to how the students resolved or expressed their ideas versus the finished project, whether it's like, it could be something fancy, but that could be purchased or bought. Yes, so I would say it's education. And then once you're in the profession, it's networking, and also often it's like I describe it as a obstacle course of just improving yourself, improving your skills, familiarizing yourself with different things. But that's where I believe that the government should help us with education.
Hello? Is this on?
Yes.
Okay, yes, perfect. So speaking on the union level at IBW, Local 353, which is actually the local I was sworn into, so from Toronto, they have then opened a EWMC, so the Electrical Workers Minority Caucus. They have opened an Ontario chapter. So what that allows members within the IBW is to join that committee and allow their voices to be heard in sorry, my words are getting in my mind, but allow their voices to be heard in the minority caucus, and they're allowed to advance in the committee through different ways. Currently, or what I believe they were working on, is a equitable hiring package so that when different individuals, races, there is a fair hiring practices for all individuals who are coming into the union and being taken on and sworn on in that way. For women particularly, they have the Pathway program, which is great for a lot of females to join the union, but from a standpoint where I've never got the chance to take that program, and I do mentor a lot of females that come out of that program, would be, in order to uphold their retention, is adding an additional committee that helps women coming out of the Pathway program to be mentored specifically by industry women that are also inside their local union, and to help guide them and make sure that these women are not left astray, just they've done the Pathway program and that's it. Just making sure that there's more follow-up with these women who go through the program and make sure that they're landing jobs and that the retention is there within the women and individuals that take that program. To speak on funding, that would be a real great thing to make sure that the funding is there for individuals that need it in the community, Black women, Black individuals that need it in the community to take advantage of, so that they could get into the unionized industries faster than just the regular intakes, because we know that those are most of the time oversaturated with applicants. So allowing the community, smaller pockets of the community in those minority sections of Toronto, to be able to participate or get inside the union through different programs, funding through the government. That's what I would say.
Thank you, thank you. I think the other thing that was mentioned were the STEM programs in schools. And I know that back in the day, they used to have trades programs in most of the junior high and high schools. And years ago, a lot of them started closing down. So, or, pushed out because there was no funding for them. And I think beginning some of those programs again and pushing forward women and girls in those programs will definitely help. With the unions, how do you see, for those who can speak to a union, Natasha, Elizabeth, Stephanie, how do you see leadership? So how do you see your ability to be seen as a leader within the unions, or to manifest more women, Black women, within union leadership?
Hello?
Well,
Thank you.
okay,
Elizabeth.
actually, you can go first.
Okay. Well, in the IBW currently, there is no Black female leadership. So, believe it or not, it's a large fleet, but I am willing to work and I'm working towards changing that. I'm working towards changing that, making sure that, small scale, I attend meetings, I network with different industry leaders that sit on executive boards. I make sure, like I mentioned, I make sure my presence is there, whether it is just from attending meetings to actually showing up to events, to volunteering to different events that we have in our local unions. I just make sure my presence is there. And this speaks volumes. When I say it speaks volumes, and those are the small steps that I am working towards changing that within the IBW, and just getting the recognition that Black women are capable of holding positions and being in places that we haven't been. So I'm working towards that because it does need change in the IBW.
Thank you. Elizabeth, did you want to comment?
Yes, and yes, I will actually comment. So I was very fortunate in my career as in the union to actually have some roles in leadership, more so as in a representative for apprentices in my local. So for me personally, I haven't seen a lot of Black women in this industry, but whenever I do see Black women, I always try to elevate them. So when I see opportunities for them to receive recognition for their years of experience in leadership and giving back to their unions or within their communities, I always try to nominate them, recommend them, push them in that direction, allow the spotlight to be on them, because I was very fortunate to have a lot of that within my career. And there's people whom saw me as an individual who was deserving of that, but I also believe other women are deserving too. So it's never a loss to support other women. It's very important that you do. And I think your life will thrive because of that. So I always try to think of other people who can have that too as well. So if there's a role that can be nominated for another woman, give them to them as well if you can. And you see that they're fit for the role, then give it to them, nominate them for the role. You know, they can do extraordinary things. You have to believe in people. And that is where the world will truly change, is belief. So that is something that is very, very important, I believe.
Thank you, Elizabeth. As we wrap up, I'm going to go to Camille and ask you to answer the same question, but at the same time, also talk a little bit about, you know, what are you currently doing to make sure that the door remains open for the next generation?
So part of my intro is that I'm a founder of Black Architects and Interior Designers, also a woman in architecture group. And I think what's important is representation. And I started, this is my second year as a sessional lecturer at Toronto Metropolitan University. And because I would say, like, at the height of the pandemic and due to the following the murder of George Floyd, there was a lot of interest in Black architects and Black designers. The Ontario Association of Architects put up their Black square saying how they're going to support the Black community. And we like knocked, who are you talking about? Because you've never acknowledged who your Black community is before. So that's what more or less got beta literally in formation. But there was a time when you were talking about your, and I think it was expected, like the hardship of, or the challenges. And I think that's not necessarily everyone's story, but what is important is to be present, be representative. So I feel my, hello, okay. I believe my current role as a sessional lecturer helps with representation, so that as the next generation of designers go through their education and go through their experience, me as a Black instructor in front of them is not telling you my story or challenges as a Black person. It's me telling you my perspective on design. So as they enter, especially as I was saying, we're largely in private sectors, as they enter the discipline and Black employees or Black colleagues, Black vendors, Black tradesmen approach them, it's not a shock that they're in this industry. And as I was saying before, architecture surrounds us. I'm not surprised if there's no Black astronauts, no Black deep sea divers, but there should be Black designers helping to shape our built environment. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Natasha, do you want to take it on? What are you doing to keep those doors open for the next generation?
So I started an organization called A Woman's Work in 2022. It was a concept that my late mother and I built together. And it was a passion project, and it's turned into a purpose project. We teach women skilled trades, one of the only schools for women in the skilled trades in Canada. Last year, we put 80 women through our program, our prime program, and we got 63 women gainfully employed. So I continue to work in that. Thank you. I continue to work in that in my organization. I love it so much, you know. I really, really do. I get to meet so many different people, women from just from everywhere, you know, South Asian, Asian, Black, Chinese, Asia, everything. So it's really nice. And the main thing for me is making impact, because, you know, we're in a place right now where life is pretty tough right now in Toronto for so many people. And we have a lot of new friends that have come to our country, you know, and they need to be, we need to onboard them. That sounds really officey, but onboard them, you know, and give them an opportunity to thrive here and show them that we have a nice country. This is why they came here. So that's what I'm doing. I have 2 daughters myself, and they're very much like me, and I like working with my hands, and I want to show other women how they can, you know, build themselves in this industry. Yeah.
Thank you. Stephanie and then Elizabeth. How are you keeping the door open?
So how I keep the door open is making sure that anytime I do get an opportunity, especially through my mentees that I mentor, anytime I do get an opportunity to attend, say, a Skills Ontario facilitation of electrical work, I will grab one of my mentees and say, come along with me for the experience. This way you can network with individuals, you could showcase your skills, and it also gives you more exposure to what else is out here aside from just being on the tools. So I like to take my mentees with me, along with some of my apprentices that I work with alongside jobs, both whether that is doing electrical work or, you know, working with Skills Ontario doing electrical facilitations, camps and sessions that way. A lot of the times when I was more working on the tools, I do a lot of teaching now, so I don't do a lot of side jobs as I was doing before, but absolutely keeping the door open with the apprentices, showing them work, how we could do safe work, how we could manage material lists, and just being efficient at their job as an apprentice, giving them the exposure that way. And I'm still very much working a work in progress, making sure that um, I keep kind with everybody so that this way they just understand that the door is always open with me, and any person that I meet, I always shed light on them as well. So yes.
Thank you. Elizabeth, last word to you.
Hi. Yes, so leaving the door open for others too. So for me, in my life, in my career, so my family, I came to this country as a refugee, and recently I have had the chance to open the door for my younger brother. And my brother wanted to go into electrical. He went to school for that, but it was very challenging for him to get opportunity within the industry. So when I went to Ontario, I worked with the union there as well to get him an opportunity sheet metal, and now he's been doing that for 3 years. So I'm opening the next doors for people in my life, other tradeswomen too as well. I'm part of groups that are the Women in Trades in Canada. So I'm part of those groups as admin and helping with those groups. So answering questions for women, being there, supporting them. I'm also tutoring women in the trade. So whenever anybody needs the help in getting their foot in the door, I also have provided that not only in the past, but in the present with the college in Windsor, and also here in British Columbia with the schools here. And then also I am part of also supporting the women in STEM, Black women in STEM here with the First Robotics Canada network. So First Robotics is where I was able to do that in high school as a high school kid. I was part of it when I was 15. So I've been part of that for 11 years now. And I'm helping host the event here in British Columbia. And each year I go back to Ontario to present scholarships to youth in the trades. But I'm able to congratulate the the young Black women and men who are going through those programs. And I get to see them thrive. And that is something that is so dear to me, to see that in the next generation. I'm so happy to see the growth of the trades and the direction it's going in. And I know there's going to be more people who are going to be part of it and who are going to benefit from what the trade has to offer. And I hope that there's more parents on board, because parents are the number one people who are going to influence the life of their children. So that is another thing I want to just leave off with, is that parents are the number one influencers in this world. And there are good opportunities in the trade too as well. So I just hope that parents out there can recognize the trades and allow their children to explore and find what they want to do, because not everybody wants to go to university and college. Some people want to be able to build the world, and that is a very important skill and task at hand. So we need builders for the next generation. And that is something that is so crucial to the growth of this country and for Canadians too as well. And everyone here, from refugees, Canadians, new comers as well. So we need builders for the next generation.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And you took what I was going to say about parents. If you're a parent, encourage your girls, your children, but your girls in particular, to get into the trades. We have lots of space and lots of room for them. To the panelists, these are panelists who are the change that they want to see. I want you to give them a huge round of applause. Thank you, thank you. You are all fabulous.
We have one additional video that we'd like to share with you, and then we'll move on to our second panel and dessert.
It was just mind-boggling to see so many different workers there. Wow, I'm there, I'm doing it. For me, it was a dream come true. I worked in a telecommunication company, so it was really good. I learned a lot. Fast forward, got laid off, found Toronto Community Benefit Network's flyer, which is a non-for-profit labor coalition program that usually finds main jobs for people like myself. So I was like, believe it or not, 350 men, only Black women on the entire site. I was like, where are my sisters? Where are they? They need to be here. We need more women into the trade. How on? The first few weeks was a bit, to say the least, because what I mean by that, I had somebody who would be like, oh, you haven't cooked yet? Or you could be in the office. Why don't you go to the office? It must be hard on the body. I'm like, I know it's hard on the body, but there's a reason why I'm here. I just love it. And then we have the other brothers that were really supportive, because they see you as one of their family members, or they see you as just people that were there and they're willing to give you their knowledge, their experience, just share so that you could learn and then you could be better. They used to be also apprentices just like us. I've been doing my apprenticeship and just enjoying loving it every single day. Because when you're at the site, you're working just like all the other person, they might be a journey person. And he's there literally showing you you're measuring together, because we're carpenters. And then from there, like you could see it in my eyes, you could see it in how I'm so curious, and I'll ask questions, and then I just start doing it. And they're like, oh, they'll check, they're like, pretty nice. I'm like, thank you. So that means, it gives me more, I would say, courage. Benefits, I love that. When it comes to construction, depending on the trade you're in, money is free. You could make up to 100,000, 150. If, for instance, you're working same day, after 8 hours, you get paid time and a half. After the 10 hours, done. If you work any weekend, it's double what you get for the weekend, which is pretty good and full benefit. And after a year, you are covered for your pension. When it comes to safety, the trade they are really, really strict on that, because they want to make sure not only you hurt yourself, but you could also hurt other workers. So it is really good to make sure that you do your training, and if you don't do them, guess what? You can't even work. But what is great is with the team, within the team, one of the gentlemen will tell you, hey, make sure you tie up. Hey, make sure you wear your harness. Started volunteering at Habitat for Humanity. Then building townhomes, building homes, started also volunteering for $1 Million Smiles. And what we do is we build playground for children having critical illnesses. So it was something that was just so empowering and so inspiring because you just see that smile of that little kid once they see that playground. I am the CEO and co-founder of Global Connection Venture. We are building isolation funding units for the First Nation community. Future plan would be afterwards they could use those units for their own battle. So we're talking about changing people's lives. You are literally building a home or a hotel infrastructure. Doesn't matter, but you're building it and then people going to live in there. Being able to build something tangible. And I say, I was part of that. I built this. I was one of the group that were there that experienced that knowledge. The skills that you develop, it's something that nobody can take away. I could work anywhere once I get my red seal, guess what? I could be even in the US, anywhere I could work in Europe. The advice I would tell people is don't be scared. People be curious. Take the step. Become.
I don't know her, but that makes me feel so proud, eh? Just the goosebumps. I'm like, ooh. You know, my background is in storytelling. I started off working at some of the largest media companies in this country, and I have two sons. And when I think about the stories we see on TV and the stories that we show our children, I can think of very few big books and very few stories that feature faces that look like that. So let's hear more. Share your story, amplify those beside you, because we need these narratives to change the future of these industries. Right? All right, I am now pleased to welcome Dr. Amin Yazdani. He is the founder and executive director of the Canadian Institute for Safety, Wellness, and Performance. He's an adjunct associate professor at the University of Waterloo, chair of the Research Ethics Committee, and adjunct faculty at Pacific Coast University for Workplace Health Sciences, pardon me. Dr. Yazdani holds a PhD in kinesiology, work in health from the University of Waterloo, and is a certified safety professional. He's also a member of the Executive Scientific Committee on Work Disability, Prevention, and Integration for the International Congress on Occupational Health. Dr. Yazdani, I don't even understand all the things you do, but I can't wait to hear you speak. I hope you speak in layperson's terms. Please come up to the podium.
Fix it up before I can begin. I hope I don't mess it up and be in trouble. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Okay, I hope it comes up. So thank you for having me here, and it's an honor to be among you, and I really appreciated the opportunity to talk about the work that we're doing here at the Institute. I just want to share my screen for the audience that they are within the Zoom. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me now? All right, okay. Let me share my screen. Here you go. Okay. Are we good? All right, so my name is not Arif, but if you don't like my presentation, you can call me Arif, as it is in the agenda. One of the things I want to talk about today is about a little bit of a journey of where we are and what we have accomplished and what we do and how that will be relevant to improving EDI type of research within the context of health and safety, and how we can improve the working life of the Canadian diverse workforce, in which in some sectors, including skilled trades, we have, again, as you all know, significant underrepresentation. Some of the alarming numbers I've discovered has been that only 0.5% of the skilled trade we have Black women. So that's kind of a significant underrepresentation. So when we have underrepresentation, of equity in the workplace, but the productivity challenge. We're living in an era that we all complain about productivity challenge in the country. But what can be done to address that productivity challenge? If you're not utilizing talent, if you're not utilizing your workers effectively, if you're not embracing the capacities we have, we're not going to be able to achieve productivity goals. So we're a research institute. We're focused on applied research. We're kind of one of the most advanced research institutes in terms of technologies and the capacity we have. We have about 30 researchers in the area of working health, different disciplines. And these are all individuals with significant background in conducting applied research, which is when it's important to be able to document, to be able to generate knowledge and data in which we're able then to use and utilize in order to prevent injury. A lot of us have kids. We want our kids to go to occupations that they potentially going to be endangering their life. And, it's typical. Don't know that we live in an era that there's a lot of information and people use this information. They realize that, well, if I want to have my son, my daughter to go into school trades, and that is being perceived to be a risky and hazardous job, and the health is going to be impacted. I don't want to go them to go and pursue this career. So that could be a concern that a lot of parents have. What we do in our institute, again, we try to build capacity when it comes to providing evidence-informed knowledge to help prevent injuries. We funded by Canada Foundation for Innovation. Again, we have multiple labs within our college in which we're located at the skilled trade campus of Connoisseur College. We're affiliated with Connoisseur College, but again, we're an independent research institute. And we have these advanced technologies in which we're able to kind of provide that first-hand evidence to the young trades, men and women, in which then we'll be able to kind of help prevent injury. So the START lab is equipped with a lot of advanced technology. Which the PPE design, PPE aspect of the health and safety is a big challenge. We've heard that from a lot of people. It's one of the barriers for inclusivity in the workplace, and also it is that will potentially lead to workplace injury. If the PPEs are not designed properly, you're going to have some issues when it comes to wearing them, and that will not provide that 100% protection we're supposed to. So we were very proud to be developing.
Do we what? Did we know ahead of time Elizabeth was going to be joining us on the Zoom? I had no idea. I can't remember.
In addition to those labs, we have a series of mobile apps that we deploy to construction sites across the province. And these mobile apps were booked until right now, as we speak, at the end of February, March. But then we're kind of again deploying this mobile app with these variable sensors, and then we'll be able to go to these workplaces and be able to collect data in which then we can be able to identify what would lead to workplace injury. And when we look at the worker, we're not just looking at the physical health, we're just not looking at the safety hazards, but we're looking at that from a comprehensive view of the cognitive demand. We talked about workplace harassment, talked about issues when it comes to clinical hazards in the workplace, and the amazing work that Dr. Joe is doing in the prevention office. The whole aspect of back pain and low back pain and shoulder injuries, and we all know people around us dealing with those type of injuries. So understanding what could potentially be the leading cause of workplace injuries, we'll be able to kind of collect data from their actual exposure of workers and then be able to provide recommendations on how we can reduce that exposure. Again, these are some images of the mobile app that we deploy to construction sites, to workplaces across the province. We work closely with unions to kind of be able to access the workforce and be able to kind of collect data. And it is important for us to be able to get a range of workers that is a true representation of workforce within the construction. So we're kind of collecting data from across different jurisdictions, different communities, and different projects, low-rise, high-rise industrial, as well as modular construction. And then we developed a lot of resources. We spearheaded the development of several Canadian standards and guidelines. And again, we've done a lot of work when it comes to technologies, such as evaluation of developing technologies, and again, working with different communities. Earlier today, I think we had some presentation around no data, no problem. We're going to jump to that with having better data working. That's our vision. We're trying to collect as much of data as we can, be able to safer workplaces, more inclusive workplaces. And without the data, we're not going to be able to do that. We're not going to be able to create more inclusive and safer workplaces. We entered into a major partnership with Workers' Compensation Board of Ontario late in 2024, and the phase one of that partnership focused on construction and paramedics. Through that partnership, we're again very excited of the opportunities that we're going to be unlocking with this partnership. It is to create two major databases that later on will perhaps be incorporated into existing systems and existing data sets. And then one other initiative in which we'll be able to kind of provide information to those communities, provide information to businesses that we collaborate with and the unions to be able to kind of inform how we can use data-driven approach in prevention of injuries. The injuries, again, that lead to disabilities, the injuries that would lead individuals to have those early exit from labor force because of those disabling injuries, and that the lives of the individuals will be impacted, the life of families will be impacted. And we're trying to kind of create that knowledge and be able to provide those recommendations to businesses and to different stakeholders. So the first initiative is called DOSE initiative. Again, it is important to kind of really consider looking at how we develop these databases and what type of data we need to be able to kind of develop these databases in the context of having enough representation from different background. Because if we don't, the database is not going to be a true representation of what is happening. And we're not going to be able to kind of produce that high quality data in which then we'll be able to inform practice. So I have a little video. I'm not sure if it works, but I'm going to try. Canadians are experiencing high rates of workplace injury. These injuries may lead to disabilities and force people out of the workforce too soon. The ripple effect, the cascading series of health, well-being, and financial impacts of workers and worsening labor shortages across sectors and industries nationwide. At the Canadian Institute for Safety, Wellness, and Employment, we want to keep workers healthy and thriving in their careers. Our team of dedicated researchers and data analysts conduct applied research to reduce the risk of workplace injuries and help injured workers return to work safely. In partnership with Ontario's Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, commonly known as WSIB, we are building something groundbreaking. Introducing BILDS, Canada's first and only comprehensive database of occupation-specific exposures.
This database details a job's physical, cognitive, ergonomic, psychosocial, and environmental exposures and demands. Using state-of-the-art wearable sensors, advanced technologies, and our mobile labs, our team is taking this research into the field directly, to real workplaces across the province. From DOSE, we can better understand how injuries happen based on data from actual workers who perform their duties and tasks in their real work environment. This rich real-world data will support innovation of novel data-driven solutions and technologies, and ultimately reduce workplace injury and illness claims in Canada.
Why does this matter? Because with better data, we can support Canadian businesses by creating and implementing smarter prevention strategies, guide stronger evidence-informed policy decisions, and help design safer, healthier workplaces. Join us at the Canadian Institute for Safety, Wellness, and Performance, and let's make workplaces safer and healthier and ensure the sustained success of Canadian businesses. So kind of the technologies that we have available through these mobile labs, again, is ranges from equipment that can actually measure every dimensions of exposure, including the physical, work environmental, as well as the cognitive aspect of work, and we'll be able to kind of help inform the prevention of injuries. I know that I'm running out of time, but I just want to kind of highlight that through this partnership and through this kind of work, we'll be able to then provide those direct recommendation to another initiative we call Safe Worksite. Then organizations will be able to kind of make change, implement change based on the real data, based on the real exposure. Another initiative that I think it is very important, and we're very, okay. It is a mosaic database. In Canada, we do not have anthropometry database. Anthropometry is the science of body dimensions, and we do not have that data in Canada. You know, the databases we use are the very old data set, Caucasian male, 1970s, 1980s, and then got updated around 2000, then a little bit of around 2003, manually measured body dimension of American population. So with the technologies we have right now, we'll be able to collect Canadian data from Canadians across the country and be able to then use that to inform design, tool design, and that's job specific for the Canadian workforce. And having, again, that representation sample is very crucial because we're going to be scanning, and we are scanning 10,000 workers across Ontario, currently in phase 1. In which we get their body dimension data, we're getting their foot measurements and foot modeling. For each of the individual, we collect 100 measurements with one simple scan. We have an avatar of that individual. We have body composition data, and we're collecting also their muscular strength to be able to kind of create that workforce profile. Why that information is important is that because it gives us information, then we can use with Canadian manufacturers of tools, equipment, and PPE. Then those tools, those equipment, those PPEs, those uniforms are designed for diverse workforce. There are the differences between men and women, the differences between different occupations. If you go to healthcare, you have a totally different population, different body dimensions than you go into construction. So that kind of diversity is important. And again, I just want to kind of wrap it up. You know, again, these are kind of examples of what this kind of technology will enable us to do when we scan workers. So I'll be reaching out to as many of you as possible to kind of see how we can partner, how we can kind of utilize the resources we have to collect data from your communities. So thank you.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't think I was going to have any questions because I'm not sure I was going to understand the content, but I did. So I look forward to speaking to you afterward. And my key question to you is, do you have an elementary school engagement program to feed the pipeline of young Black women and men into this work? Because I have 2 sons, they are interested in STEM, and I think they would be perfect. And I would like to make sure I have a good retirement. So we will be talking. Thank you. We will be talking. All right. We have another panel. I know we're behind time, but right before we do, we just want to have someone deliver just a few remarks, and then we will have our final panel and speakers for the evening. So I'd like to welcome Patrice Barnes, Chair, Premier's Council on Equality of Opportunity. Patrice in this room, apparently. And we are connecting again tonight. So thank you for being here. Patrice is a dedicated advocate for youth empowerment, equity, and inclusive education. As the chair of the Premier's Council on Equality for Opportunity, she advises the Ontario government on improving outcomes for marginalized communities. She can tell you more about her work. Please welcome Patrice.
Good evening, everyone. I know quite a few faces in the room, and I'm so excited to be among you today. Thank you for having me out. I am so thrilled with the things that we've heard so far. And I want to thank Jean Augustine for the work that she does and her team. She was one of the inspirations and mentors for me for getting into politics. And I'm just thrilled to be able to continue the work that she has started and continue to do very well at 88. As the chair of the Premier's Council on Equality of Opportunity, I spend a lot of time thinking about how we can create real lasting access for youth, especially those who have been pushed to the margins. This is a space I've occupied for most of my years, asking how do we build pathways, how do we welcome them, and how do we sustain them? And when I look around the room, I see the answer in the amazing women that we've heard from. They are the women that are doing the work. They're pushing the boundaries, and they're knocking down doors and making ways for youth to come. I'm very thrilled to hear the question about how do you hold the door open, because that is so very important. As we walk through those doors, we need to be very conscious about holding those doors open for somebody else to come. And as we are first in a lot of things that we do, we have to remember that what is our legacy going to be? Are we going to be like the great Jean Augustine years from now? Or are we going to have passed through and not left a legacy by which our youth can walk through? And so as as the Minister of Labor, when I served as a parliamentary assistant for the Minister of Labor, I remember attending a skilled trades event. And it was about women in the trades. And I remember one of the women saying that they thought that one of the best ways to really break down the barriers for women in the trade is to do it with justice-involved women, so that they could be, because they're tough and they wouldn't take any crap, and they would really knock those men into shape. And I thought, I think our Black women are already doing that. You know, you're already showing up on those sites. You're already not taking crap. You're blazing the way. You're holding the doors. And I thought very much of Elizabeth as she talked about how she is purposefully holding the doors through for others. And part of the thing I've heard along in the trades is it's isolating. It's very isolating for women, but particularly for Black women. And so there is an opportunity sometimes for us to compete on those workplaces, so that we're the best, so that we're the ones that get chosen, we're the ones that get chosen for the next positions. But as we go forward, we in this room start making a pledge to build a sisterhood where you support each other, build each other up, and make sure you bring each other along. So thank you for the work that you do, continue to do, and for the trails that you continue to blaze. And I look forward to talking some more and listening to some of the amazing things that you say.
I love that. She knew she was between you, a panel, and dessert. Thank you. All right, I'd like to bring up our second moderator, Rosemary Powell. She's familiar to so many of you in this room. She has done so much work. I've had the opportunity to see the impact of Toronto Community Benefits Network, which she leads. There at that organization, she combines sharp executive leadership with a deep commitment to social entrepreneurship, all in service of building a more inclusive economy. Under her watch, The organization has become a very powerful advocate for a city which grows and benefits everyone, and every community has the opportunity to thrive. Pardon me. Rosemary, we look forward to you leading this conversation. Please come up to the podium.
Thank you, Emily. Okay. It is great to see everyone here tonight. And we're about to have a really incredible conversation. And I am honored to serve as the moderator for this next segment. You heard from the previous panel, their passion, their enthusiasm for building their careers in the skilled trades. You heard Rokea's story, how powerful. Even though it can be difficult, they love it and they want to stick to it. Now, when we started TCBN 10 years ago, we saw the strong interest by the community to build infrastructure in our city. And we've been able, through community benefits, to get hundreds of Black youth, women, and newcomers into the industry. We have seen Black women who are entering the skilled trades in greater numbers, bringing talent, innovation, and resilience to industries that are essential to building our communities. Yet alongside these opportunities, there are unique and persistent physical and mental health issues, from unsafe work conditions, lack of adequate protections, to the stress and trauma of navigating racism, sexism, and harassment in a male-dominated environment. Legally, the framework that should protect workers is not always applied equitably. Too often, Black women find themselves without adequate recourse when their rights are violated, whether that's their fair access to apprenticeships and promotions, protections against workplace discrimination, or proper enforcement of occupational health and safety standards. So our conversation today is just about identifying these barriers. It's not just about identifying these barriers, it's about shining a light on the lived experiences, examining the systems that sustain inequalities, and exploring what meaningful change can and should look like. Together, you'll hear from two wonderful experts who have had the opportunity to meet, who are themselves just incredible leaders in their own right. And with them, we are going to surface some solutions that can improve the health, strengthen legal protections, and ensure that Black women can thrive and lead in the skilled trades. So with that, let's begin this important dialogue, and let's start today's important discussion on the health and legal impacts faced by Black women in the skilled trades. And so with this, I would like to bring up Lavinia Latham and Leon Bartley. And I'm going to be sitting beside you at the table because we're about to have some deep conversations. If there's anything that I remember from our pre-conversation to this, there is a lot to dig into. But let me just give you a quick bio, and you'll find it in the booklet here. I'm not going to go into too much depth. You will hear their passion and the expertise that they bring to the table. But let me just say that Lavanya Latham, she's a partner at Alphonse Latham LLP. She blends the precision of a workplace investigator with the heart of a human rights lawyer. Her work is rooted in a simple but powerful mission to help leaders, organizations, and individuals embrace equity, navigate change with confidence, and lead in ways that are true to who they are. And Leanne Lyon Bartley, affectionately known as Canada's safety diva, is Vice President of Health, Safety, and Environment at Dexterra Group, a leading North American infrastructure support services company, a proud Toronto Metropolitan University alumna. She holds both CRSP and CPFS, which she will explain to us what that's all about, designations, and has shared her expertise on CBC's Stephen and Chris and across Canadian news networks. and you could read more because obviously her resume is long and deep. So let me join you at the table. Okay. So, Lavinia, I'm going to start with you. Do a little bit of a deeper introduction of yourself as you would wish. And then let's get on to the first question that we have for you. So we hear a lot about psychological trauma in the workplace, whether from racism, sexism, or bullying. And from a legal standpoint, what should employers and unions understand about their obligations to protect workers, and what are the consequences if they don't?
Awesome question. So I'd like to begin with, stating my name for the record. This is something we do in court a lot, and everyone gets this wrong. It's Lavinia Latham, and I am a co-founder and partner of Alphonse Latham LLP with my husband, who's also in the audience, whom I met in law school. So together we own Alphonse Latham LLP. Before founding, thank you. Before founding Alphonse Latham LLP, my journey towards this particular state actually spanned across 10 years. So I have been a lawyer for 10 years. I've been to the Supreme Court of Canada with the now no longer functioning but very impactful African Canadian Legal Clinic. One time for them, yes. And so, going to the Supreme Court of Canada on test case litigation to improve the lives of Black Ontarians and Black Canadians across the country. In that role, we also did a lot of work before the United Nations. So speaking on the realities for Black Canadians before the United Nations, many people do not know that we are actually within the decade for peoples of African descent since 2015 to 2025. And I believe it's been extended for another 2 years because the situation is that dire. So there was that. And then, of course, serving at the Toronto Catholic District School Board, once African Canadian Legal Clinic, ACLC, was no longer functioning, I did do the work of the line for Legal Aid Ontario to keep the services continuing for Black Ontarians, the legal services being the litigation strategy behind so many of those final cases. They really needed someone to keep the line strong. And so before Black was founded, I decided to move on over to a different way of tackling anti-Black racism more proactively as opposed to reactively, which I'll explain a little bit more as we go through today's panel. But to answer that question, it's been such a ride. It really has. Before Toronto Catholic District School Board, engaging in over 100+ workplace equity training sessions with executive council, senior exec, the director included. That is who I reported directly to and advised on some of the issues. That, of course, those issues are ongoing. It's eradicating anti-Black racism is not going to happen in 4 or 5 years. But to answer the question, what can employers do and what can unions do? They can do a lot, okay? They can do a lot. So, legally speaking, if an employer becomes aware of something happening in the workplace environment, it is their legal duty and obligation to do something about it. It's not about, pushing things under the rug, acting like you didn't hear about it. Once a complaint comes to someone's knowledge, it is their legal obligation to engage in an actual process. And so that starts with the complaints process. So the individual comes forward and they, raise their complaints, whether it's psychological safety issues. So maybe you're being subjected to discrimination. Maybe you're being subjected to, racism, harassment, any of those. We heard a lot about gender issues. Following that, there's a workplace investigation. Unions need to understand their duty to fair representation. I have very often been privy to so many different cases where individuals who are paying their hard-earned money, they're their union dues on a regular basis are not getting access to the legal representation that they should have access to through the grievance process. And the problem with that is that you can't access legal remedies without exhausting your grievance process. So I'll just leave that there because there's so much more you can talk about when we're talking about law, and Lord knows I'm very passionate, so I'll let us continue.
So, Lavinia, did I say it right? Lavinia. Lavinia, it's such a beautiful name. So you mean we don't have to bear this on our shoulders by ourselves? Is that what you're trying to say? That employers actually can and should be doing something about the issues that we're seeing right in front of us? All right. Okay, Leanne, let's follow up to that same kind of question. So what can employers do to prevent psychological harm and promote psychological safety in our workplace? Do they also have an obligation towards that?
Short answer is yes. Okay, let's talk about it. But I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. So my mother still doesn't actually know what I do for a living. She always I don't know what my daughter does, but she does good work. So I am a certified registered safety professional. I'm also a certified professional in food safety in the US. And what that really means is, I think in the first panel, we heard Camille talk about the fact that architecture is everywhere, buildings are everywhere. Natasha talked about every building has a roof, but all of these things don't exist without the foundation of safety. And that's what I do. This is where I come in. And in a short version, I tell people that I'm a change maker and I'm a lifesaver. And it's because we spend more time at work than we spend anywhere else for those of us that are employed. And if those workplaces are not healthy and safe, it will affect everything in your life. It affects your families, it affects your friends, it affects your communities. And so there are professionals like myself that are out there trying to ensure that companies and workers know how to make the workplace a civil and respectful place, first and foremost, because that's the foundation of having a psychologically safe and healthy place. But also, how do we protect you from the millions of hazards that are out there that you're faced with every day? You saw those videos. You saw how physical, being a skilled trades person is. And it's very easy for them to be injured. You heard our electrician speak earlier. And every year, electricians are being seriously harmed and injured. So how do we protect them? A couple other things. You want to make sure and ask the right questions when you are going to go work for somebody. What's the culture like around here? What kind of learning and growth opportunities am I going to get here? Talk to me. Do you have an anti-racism or anti-discrimination policy? Because first of all, they're supposed to have a violence and harassment policy, but not only the policy, how do you live the policy, right? Because I can tell you, I lived and worked in Fort McMurray, Alberta, in the heart of the oil sands. What a fantastic opportunity. But the video you saw earlier where she was like, the first 2 weeks, right? That's what she said. I literally went home almost every single day. I left everything that I knew here in the comfort of the six, and I almost cried every single day because of how tough it was. Yes, it made me stronger. And yes, it, Talawa and all those things we say in the Caribbean, but it was hard. And it was because it was an uninviting place for a young person and a young person of color. Now, times have changed, thank God, right? Things are getting better, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And we were talking at our table, too often women get into the skilled trades, and after a few years, they leave. And why is that happening? And it's because more likely than not, it's an unsafe environment, whether it be psychologically or physically. They can't get the work, like you heard them say in the first panel, so they have to move on. But it doesn't have to be that way. And so I thank you all for being here and in this conversation, because you are all now change makers and lifesavers as well.
Okay, so we don't have to tough it out, but We know, we often see and hear of situations where workers feel pushed out rather than outright termination, maybe constructive dismissal or worse, reprisal after raising concerns. Lavinia, how can employees recognize when this crosses into a legal issue, and what steps should employers take to avoid costly litigation?
Such a good question. So before I hop into the answer for that, I want to give a big shout out to 100 accomplished Black Canadian women.
Woo!
I have the honor of sitting here today. I am one of the honorees from the 2024 cohort, and it's just absolutely an incredible organization. And I just thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to share this vital information. So how do you know it's a legal issue? If deep down inside, you're feeling like something isn't correct, how many, you know what, before I tell you exactly what I think it is as a legal issue, by a show of hands, how many people have walked into their workplace environment and something just didn't feel right? Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that feeling deep down inside, like something's just not right, it is a form of oppression, and oppression is never legal. You don't have to have the perfect legal test at the top of your head. You don't need to be able to cite the provision from the Ontario Human Rights Code or the Canadian Human Rights Act or the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You don't need any of that. The fact that you are feeling like you are psychologically unsafe, the fact that you are walking into that environment and not feeling like you belong, has already triggered a legal response. And the reason why I say that is because it is the Ontario Human Rights Code, which was enacted in 1962, that makes it illegal for you to feel uncomfortable based on the enumerated grounds. What are the enumerated grounds? That is things like sex. We're talking a lot about the skilled trades today for women. That's being Black, race, place of origin, nationality. These are all parts of the Ontario Human Rights Code that are protected legal grounds that you cannot legally be discriminated against based on. And there are legal remedies for that. So if you are experiencing those things in your workplace environment, what you need to do is to make a complaint. Once you make a complaint, you have effectively triggered the legal remedies that are available to you. And those legal remedies differ based on whether you're in a union, which is very likely if you're a skilled tradesperson or skilled tradeswoman. And that would be the opportunity for your union to start responding and protecting you. One of the things that I've seen while working with unions is that they fail to protect Black women. It doesn't look the same, right? And I'm hearing, thank you. I'm hearing quite a few yeses. It's true. It doesn't look the same. And that is why you really need to understand that when there is a breach to your rights through the grievance process, you are now triggering your rights to a lawyer to come in and not only help you litigate the initial issue, which was that breach of the code and being Black and a woman and experiencing that strange psychological feeling, but now you also have an additional legal remedy at your fingertips, which is the failure of that union to represent you properly. It's called DFR claims, a duty to fair representation. So I don't know, does that answer that question? I know we're short for time here.
I think it really does. And, I want to also skip over to Leanne and just to kind of talk about, so, within the skilled trades and in construction in general, we talk about building on time, on budget, and safely, right? So what are some of those, can you speak further to that aspect, our safety rights at work?
Okay, so we have 3 rights. I'm going to ask, does anybody in the room or online know what one of your health and safety rights are? Okay, go ahead. Yes, the right to know. Most people don't get that one, so that's very good. What does that really mean? You have the right to know about the health and safety hazards in your workplace and also about the protections that are available to you. I saw a hand up here at the front. Camille. The right to refuse unsafe work, which means you don't get out of work. A lot of people think I'm going to refuse the work, which means I'm just going to go on Instagram. No, that's not what happens. But you can refuse the right, you have the right to refuse unsafe work. So if you believe the work is unsafe and you bring that forward, like Lavinia's saying, like the first thing to do is speak up. So then there's a process that you have to go through, but you do have that right. And she talked about it. She said that gut feeling. And I can tell you too often through a lot of incident investigations that I've done, people have had that gut feeling and they ignored it. So, I would say, listen to your gut and then say something, speak up, because that will be the moment that saves your life potentially. And there's one more right. The third right, anyone? Go ahead. The right to get involved, exactly. So you have the right to participate in health and safety in your workplace. That could be formally through a joint health and safety committee. You could be a health and safety representative, but really it's about, we all have to make our workplaces healthy and safe for each other. And we've got to look out for one another. We've got to speak up when we see the hazards. Don't just walk by. Like at our company, we have a mantra that says, don't walk by, take action now. Because if you walk by something, and I've seen it time and time again, it actually ended up being an injury for somebody else. And in some cases, that could actually make you feel guilty because they're one of the 3 people who might not have made it home today. Because that's the stats. 3 people in this country today are probably not coming home. So be a part of the change, participate. But your employer has to also know what those rights are and be prepared to support you, right? When you do exercise your rights. And too often, unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And Lavinia talked about reprisals. You have protection. So if you come and bring up a health and safety concern and now you're fired, you actually have protections against that. And people like Lavinia and others can help you. A lot of people don't know about a place called the Office of the Worker Advisor. So if you are non-unionized, you could actually get free help. And it's through the Office of the Worker Advisor, whether it be for a reprisal or whether it be for a workers' compensation claim that you're dealing with, because that's a whole other thing. Most people in our community do not know how to navigate the workers' compensation system. And then too often, just even dealing with the system can create psychological issues for you. And I've seen it firsthand within my own family. So you've got to know, because at the end of the day, nobody else is looking out for you but you. Thank you.
Leanne, don't stop there. Could you go into a little bit more depth? Since we're talking specifically about women here, do you feel that women get more injured or, more fatal injuries more so than men?
What do you think? Do you think men die more often at work than women? Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes, but it's changing. The stats are changing. We're starting to see more women are getting seriously injured and actually dying. And it's because partly, they'll say it's because they're getting into non-traditional work, but they are getting into more hazardous environments. And it is creating these stats to start to change, but it is still predominantly men. And more people actually die from occupational illnesses than they do from occupational injuries. So your health is not often actually being protected at work. And your safety is actually more protected than your health. So you've got to ask the questions about the hazards because you have a right to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Continuing on with the hazards, I want to ask you a question about the legal perspective. One challenge that we're seeing more often involves women's reproductive health and other accommodation needs. Which are areas that are sometimes misunderstood or minimized? What legal obligations do organizations have to accommodate? And how can unions and employers work together to create a culture of legal compliance and care?
Yeah, so specific to women, of course, is reproductive rights, of course, the ability to bear children. And so with reproductive rights comes special legal obligations. If you are a woman who's in the skilled trades and you're conducting work that is unsafe to your health, your reproductive health, it is the employer's obligations to accommodate. So legally, we call that the duty to accommodate. And essentially, it is the employer's legal obligation to make sure that you are able to conduct your work in a safe manner. And if you're unable to conduct the work that is within your traditional job description, you are now provided work that is something else that you can do. Another thing that's important to talk about as you secure and as you uphold your own personal rights, the right to know, the right to participate, is constructive dismissal. There are, employers out there who will subject workers to reprisal and to essentially negative consequences for engaging in perfectly legal behaviors, and that is illegal in essence. So what can unions and employers do to work together to ensure that they're not breaching people's rights, reproductive rights, that they are upholding human rights in Ontario and in Canada at large? They can engage in compliance training, right? They do that, that's true, but I think some more work needs to be done in terms of what that looks like as an action plan. Also consultations, so consulting with, their various different workers to see what their lived realities are looking like is very helpful. And then in addition to that, engaging in some data collection, right? One of the problems here in Canada is that we don't have a lot of data on what is happening to Black people, Black women, our students, like our community as a whole. It's just like a whole of information. And it's something that oftentimes we have to look to our neighbors south of the border for their statistics. And oftentimes when we use those statistics, now we're told, yeah, but that's over there. No, it's right here in Canada. It's just we're at the ground level of racism and discrimination where we don't even know what it is that we're up against. So these conversations absolutely need to happen. We need to continue to do more things like this. It pleases me so much that this room is actually full for this conversation about what your reproductive rights look like, constructive dismissal, the reprisal, and the various different pieces of legislation that I mentioned to you earlier that are existing to protect your rights. The issue is not that the law isn't there. It's there. The issue is that it's not being activated. And I promise you, other marginalized communities in this country are utilizing those rights. So whether you're using it on a sole basis for your own personal situation, or whether you're looking in your workplace environment and saying, hey, all of us are experiencing this, let's do a class action. There are a lot of law firms that will hop on that, mine included, to make sure that we that we protect your rights. And that's not a shameless plug. There are tons of other law firms that are also doing that work as well. But I do think it's important while we're having this conversation to empower you with the knowledge that you have access to secure not only your rights, but other people who look like you too.
I just want to piggyback on what she's talking about reproductive rights and just women's health in general, is to ask the questions, right? So if you are now pregnant and you work in a workplace, regardless of the industry, say, hey, I'm pregnant. Is there anything that I need to know to protect myself and the child that I'm carrying? Talk to your doctor and tell your doctor what you do for work and say, is there anything I need to know? Because this is the situation that I'm going through. Because too often there are hazards in our workplace that are not only affecting you, but also affecting the child that you might be carrying. So, ask the right questions. There's no dumb questions.
And if I can just hop on that super quickly, the reproductive rights conversation isn't just carrying a child, it's also IVF, it's also reproductive technologies. Yes. That legal duty is triggered the moment, reproducing is a part of the question, or any other medical condition for that matter.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna stop here. Let's have a massive round of applause for these two phenomenal experts. And by the way, Leanne, aren't you also a 100 ABC woman?
2022, and my mama was 2016.
Woohoo! And I'm 2024. It's nice to see that we can have this kind of a platform to be able to connect like this. So was this a real and deep conversation that you want to have, that you need to have, that we need to have more of? Beautiful. Let's create the spaces to have more of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rosemary, Lavinia, and Leanne. I feel like that was the beginning of a conversation. Look forward to part 2 and can't wait to follow you all on social media. All right, how are we doing, everybody? We doing all right? I know we need dessert, but can I just appreciate, I know we do, but can I also just appreciate for a minute, in this day and age, with everything happening all over the world, I'm just grateful to be in a space with us. Can we appreciate that? We have some remarks from Dr. Joelle Moody. All right, Dr. Moody is the Chief Prevention Officer and Assistant Deputy Minister of Ontario's Ministry of Labour, Training and Skills Development. He assumed this role in 2021 and is responsible for implementing Ontario's 5-year health and safety strategy known as Prevention Works. Prior to this appointment, you can clap for that. There you go. Yeah. All right. I'm all for safety. Let's go. He was Chief Public Safety Officer and Senior Director Analytics of the Electrical Safety Authority, ESA. I'm learning so many acronyms tonight. Please welcome Dr. Joelle Moody to bring closing remarks.
Thank you so much. Great. Amazing time. Thank you. It's interesting for me to come, and as I was walking in earlier this afternoon, this evening, I was telling people it feels like test 1, 2. Sounds good? All right. I was saying that it felt as if I was coming home, because that's what it feels like. Being with you, being with my sisters, being with my mothers, my aunts, my cousins. You make me full, so I'll just say that. Just want to say, I want to take a moment to thank the organizers for letting me come and listen and hear all the great stories. To meet you, to see you, to hear, to understand really what you do. Because this is more than just a gathering. It's a celebration. It's a telling of truths. You're setting the vision not only for yourselves, but for generations to come. Little quick story about myself. I'm a girl dad. I have 2. Learning how to do hair. I'm learning. But this is what keeps me moving as well. I want them to be successful, as any parent. And so recognizing, understanding that, you're keeping doors open. You're creating doors that they will be able to walk through when they reach the age, hopefully when I retire and they take care of me when I'm old. Because you're setting that future, not only for Black women in the skills trades, but for all of our culture. We've listened to stories and the voices that tell us about your lived experiences. You've shown us what it means to break the barriers, build new foundations, both literally and figuratively. Your stories of perseverance, moving through the hardness, to the lessons of leadership that you show, to the calls of equity, inclusion. And I just want to be very clear about this. Black women, you belong in every part of the skills trades, not on the margins, but at the center. Recognized, respected, and valued. We remind ourselves that with the power of community, we can accomplish many things, because no one succeeds alone. No one is in this journey by themselves. When we share knowledge, we create opportunities, we open those doors, we walk through them together. And that's what tonight's been about. coming together to ensure that, once again, that next generation has those opportunities that we're living. Because we thrive, we live, and we inspire. We talked about some challenges. They're real. Stereotypes. You can't do this. Why are you here? Why are you pretending to be something that you're not? But we know that we can dismantle these stereotypes, because when we talk about change, when we talk about those pathways, they widen. We have that momentum, and that's what gives us the strength every day to keep moving forward. So tonight, after some good dessert, when you leave, we each are going to carry some responsibility with us to mentor, to advocate, to keep pushing those boundaries where possible. I want to say thank you to the rest of our speakers that shared their wisdom and knowledge tonight, our partners, those that have sponsored us to be here, and most importantly, each of you. You didn't have to be here on a Friday night. You chose to. You chose to be here to listen, to learn, to contribute. And you're part of that legacy. Every day, what you do is unfolding and it's making itself manifest. And maybe this is that time. Maybe this is the time, the place, the ability for us to say that legacy, when you look back and say, yeah, this is where that tide is now turning. So just want to close, once again, don't want to keep you from that great dessert that's coming. Maybe a thought. Every barrier that we break is a blueprint for someone else to follow. Every success we achieve is an invitation for another person to rise. So let's continue to build, to support, and lead together. I want to say thank you once again. Have good travels. And may that inspiration that we all have tonight be the fuel of that change that we are determined to make for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
The last speaker I'm going to invite to the podium, I have to say, is one of my favorite power women in this city and in this country, really. She is just a quiet, humble champion of women, but she is a dynamo. Donna Jones Simmons is one of the co-founders of 100 ABC Women. She is now also the first, I'm going to say that again, the first Black woman in the 151-year history of the Rotary Club of Toronto to be appointed president. That is a long time. Thank you for picking up the baton and leading us in this way. She's worked in many fields. She has sacrificed so much. She has helped to build, and we are so honored to have her come and deliver closing remarks about today's symposium. Please welcome Dr. Doctor. She's going to be a doctor soon. Here we go. I'm going to name it Doctor. It's coming. I'm going to give you an honorary doctorate one day, I promise you. I need dessert too. There we go. Thank you, Donna.
Well, what a wonderful evening. What Gina and I were just talking about the powerful women we have in our database. And that's just a tip of the iceberg. So we have lots more to showcase. And we're hoping that come 2026, you'll be looking at our fireside chats where we have tons of women just showcasing their talent and their skills. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, our host, Miss Emily Mills. She was phenomenal. Absolutely. She guided us through today with grace energy, and wit. Emily, you kept us engaged, entertained, and inspired. Thank you for lending your incredible presence to this event. To you, our audience, your presence means everything to us. Without you, there is no success. Thank you for showing up, leaning in, and being part of this important conversation that should have happened a long time ago. I'm telling you, both Leon and Lavinia, you inspired me. I don't have a problem with your name. My sister was the same. A sister named Lavinia as well. To our sponsors, Yasmin, thanks for saying yes to presenting. TD has sponsored us for 3 years, and we are totally grateful. But if without them, we couldn't have this event. Free food. Oh, free good food. Your message was powerful, timely, and deeply inspiring, not only for those considering careers in the skilled trades, but for all of us. I must admit that after hearing Rakaya's video noting that a journey person can earn up to $150,000, I briefly thought, may have chosen the wrong profession. It certainly looks both rewarding and definitely exciting anyway. To all distinguished guests, MPP Patrice Barnes, thank you for your inspirational message. Dr. Joel Moody and Amin Yazdani, thank you for joining us and reminding us that men are not only welcome, but add tremendous value in advancing and amplifying our work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. To our volunteers, thank you. To our volunteers and team, we could not have done this without you. To our event planners, Wendy, Joan, and Nicole, and Marie, right here, and Rosemary, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your support was incredible. Our tech team, my right-hand guys, Malcolm and Kit, always with me over the past several years. Thank you, always with me. Thank you. A communication team, Finella Bruce, you probably heard the interview on Sunday. Anybody who looked at CPP? CP24. Did you have a chance? Amazing. I heard only good things. Unfortunately, I wasn't here, so I couldn't see it, but I'm going to hear more about it. I just also want to congratulate my daughter, Doreen Simmons, who created this book for us. I couldn't be more proud of her. She did an amazing job. I said, I'm going to have to hire you a little more. To my dear Paige, she calls me her great niece. I call her my niece. Makes me feel a little younger. But she has been my right hand, as well as Joeline behind there. They stood by me. They're always by my side. Are you okay? They wanted to get me some food today. I said, no, I can get it myself. So thank you for always being there for me. And our registration desk, Nicole and Caress isn't in the room, but she's out there. You are all outstanding. And of course, to my partners in purpose. Jean, you notice I didn't say crime? We've passed that. Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, Dr. Denise O'Neill Green, Marie again, and Rosemary, Dr. Anna Jarvis, who really wanted to be here, but she's a steadfast supporter of us. And Sambo is never at any of our events. That's a complaint I have, but she's always behind the scene. So you may have got communication from her today. That's Sambo. She does things behind the scenes. She's one of those you call, what do you call them now? They're behind the scene people anyway. But they're the energy and the foundation of our success. So to everyone here, and I know you're between me and dessert, thank you for your contributions, your presence, and your belief in this mission. Have a safe, joyful weekend, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. Thank you.
And I really meant it. By next year, we are going to call you Dr. Donna. I'm naming it and claiming it. Can I help you on down? That's all right. Okay. We are there. Did you have a good time tonight? Inspiration, information, lots of connections, good food. And I hope, especially from all the speakers, I'm looking at you, Lavinia, fire in your belly to do the work. And as Leanne says, be a change maker and a lifesaver. I think all of us have a role to play. So my last thing is just 3 items. Good news, bad news, and a special request. Which one do you want first? Okay, the bad news. There's no time for questions. So anybody who had questions before, I'm sorry. The ask. The ask. I said at the beginning, I'm a passionate storyteller. I'm looking at some of the greatest storytellers we have in our city here. If you don't tell people what you saw, what you heard, what you learned, who you met, we're missing an opportunity. So my ask is that you take a picture or share a takeaway from today. All of us have a network in person, online, your LinkedIn, Instagram, your community group. Please, even your children, tell somebody about what you took away from today. In agreement? All right. And now the good news. You ready? Not only is there dessert, there are takeout containers with extra food. So if you enjoyed the meal on your way out, please take something with you. On behalf of 100 ABC Women, thank you so much for joining us on your way out. You can meet Amanda for dessert. I hope you enjoyed yourself at Black Women in Skilled Trades. Good night.